Hi everyone, I'm back. This video is a continuation of the last video that I uploaded, which is on Twizzles. In my last video, I covered exercises to develop and strengthen your basic techniques to hopefully help you become more confident and more solid on a kind of standard Twizzle, or just the concept of turning in the way that Twizzles turn. This video is going to be a more advanced focus with a look at the different features you can use to increase your levels if you're competing or just to make them more interesting. There are 3 sets of features, A, B and C, and they cover the upper body, which is A, lower body, which is B, and C is your pattern. And I'm going to look at each of those features and try to explain what you need to do to give you a shot at getting them called by the panel in the tech paneling competition. So I'm going to start with the A features, and these are the upper body features as I just mentioned. The first one is to have the arms extended out in front of the body. There isn't a set level, so it can be fairly high or it can be quite low, but they must be straight, so the elbows need to be locked out. This isn't going to be acceptable. All of our features have in groups A and B have to be achieved within the first half a rotation of your turn. Okay, so we know that Twizzles mustn't check, and they have to be like almost like a travelling spin with 3 turns, but within that first 3 turn and the first unchecked turn you have to achieve that position, and you then have to hold it consistently throughout the whole Twizzle for it to count. Okay, so you would go from your push, you bend, you've got your posture, ribs in, hips under, nice strong push, entry edge, first half a turn into that position, arms locked out. Second feature for the A is the arms extended away from the body at the back. Okay, so there has to be light between your hands and the body. It does not need to be locked out. You don't have to have straight elbows, but you do need to make sure that there is distance there. Okay? They're clasped. You can see that. So again, you might step in, you might use that off of a back outside and pull in, or it can be off any Twizzle, step in forward outside or forward inside, whatever it be, but there has to be quite clear distance. Okay, our next feature for upper body is continuous significant movement. So from within the first half rotation as you step in, the arms need to be moving, and it has to be both arms. So it's not okay to go sort of do a Mexican wave or just swish one arm around. They both have to be moving. It has to be so that they feel it's contributing to the difficulty of the Twizzle, which means affecting the balance, as generally that's why things are considered difficult. It could be like a port de bras from ballet. It could be like a swirly Mexican wave, as long as they are both moving. Try not to make it staccato, because in theory they're not moving continuously, but you could do a round, but it must be the whole way through Twizzle. So that's your next one. The next one again is core movement. So this is more using the whole of the body. Okay, and this is probably the one I would say is the most difficult because it really affects balance. You have to notably move your weight away from the skate and foot. So in my last video I talked about the importance of being fully over the skate as you Twizzle, and generally that is a rule. That's why this is considered difficult, and it can go to the side or back or forward, but there has to be no question that you are removing your centre from the central axis, moving it away from the central axis, and obviously that is going to make it feel quite different. Okay, you're going to have less concept of where your feet are, so that is a particularly, I would say, a particularly challenging one, but if you can do it, play with it, give it a go, see what you think. The arm or the elbow above shoulder height. Okay, so it can be straight, it can be, the arm can be extended, it can be bent, but the key thing is this elbow is above shoulder height. So next Twizzle. Okay, if you have both arms up, they can't be clasped. Okay, so it's unclasped. Again, straight or bent or soft, however it might be, the elbow is distinctly above shoulder height. Okay, if you're level, it's very questionable. Don't give the panel anything to question. Make it clear. Okay, try not to feel level, try to feel above level. Okay, try to make that obvious for them. With any of these features, make it obvious. If it drops during it, okay, you will lose the feature. So up. So that brings me to B features. B features are lower body. Now the first one's a kind of mixture of lower body and upper body because it's actually catching the foot. So we go in, again half rotation, and we catch the foot with the free foot with one or the other hands. You can go opposition, which tends to, I think, help keep you over that skating side, or you can catch same foot. That is still acceptable. And then you're free to lift that arm or whatever. If you catch the same side, be careful that you don't lean into it because you're going to drop that turn. And if you remember from the previous video, I said that's a common flaw that I see people drop into the rotation. Okay, so you want to make sure you stay fully over. I've gone off the screen, but fully over that skating side. You can have the knee face forward and closed, or you can turn it out. Okay, that is up to you. That is your B feature. If you were to turn it out, you might find it helps shift it over, but it's something to play with. And again, bend and rise up into it, use that rise. Use the level shoulders and hips that we spoke about previously to help focus on keeping your core strong. Okay, so shoulders and hips in a rectangle, ribs and hips under, and you're just going, let the foot come to the hand. I see there's a common mistake on this. I see a lot of people go down to get their foot and then try to pull it up, and as you can see, your body's all over the shot. If you just step in and bring the foot to the hand, you're over your centre straight away. Okay, and the same with the same arm's foot, straight, lift the foot to it, don't reach down. Next feature is the coupe position. Okay, so a coupe is a touch of the free foot to the skating leg. Okay, it can be in front or behind. Okay, we need to have the hips open to 45 degrees. So there's 0, there's 90, 45 is on that diagonal, or 0, 90 and 45 is that diagonal like a skating line. I think it's quite nice tucked behind on like a forward outside or a backwards inside. On a back outside, it's quite nice to have it crossed in front. It doesn't state how high the free leg goes. So in coupe is a ballet term, and in ballet it would be crossed at the ankle, so that's kind of typical, but actually it could be a little bit higher. It doesn't state it in the rules for us. Okay, again, bend, rise in and find your tuck, and that one can look quite nicely finished with a nice A feature to match. Back outside, push in coupe. Key thing, 45 degrees and touching that they're looking for. Okay, so now we have the cross behind feature. Now this is one that you don't see too often, but basically you can do your twizzle with your foot crossed behind. Okay, there, or tucked under. Again, within the first half rotation. Try not to cave into the arch of your back. Over, quite close. Interesting one, less commonly done. One that is more commonly done is the leg lifted away, extended away from the body. So the hip moves from 0, there's 90, we're going to at least 45 lift. Okay, it could be in front, it could be to the side, or it could be back. Okay, so you're going to bend and then rise to whatever position. You can bend or extend the leg. It looks quite nice behind to have a bend, to have like an attitude line, and the same forward. It looks quite finished, kind of quite an elegant shape. If you're doing it out to the side, I would say that the attitude line looks less good, so you're probably going to want to extend that free leg there. You might want to extend it to the front, and also even somewhere in between the front and the side it is acceptable, as long as we've got that 45-degree lift. This is where that V-sit and things that I spoke about in the previous video, so the sitting on the floor and holding up where you're using the core and practicing holding your legs comes in to play, and also things like practicing lifting and rising the foot with control without the upper body moving to strengthen, okay, so that you're using your glute and your muscles in your legs to keep it strong. Again, get that body over that side. It looks lovely if you can get it higher, okay, you know, if you can get like 90-degree angle, or you know, even push in and a little bit more. Looks great. Typically you'll find this one performed off of a forward inside twizzle because it's easiest to get that push. What I would say though is, for those of you going for a higher, trying to lift it higher, be careful it doesn't cause it to check, because it only needs to be 45 degrees. I would say a little bit more than 45, so that there's nothing to question, is a good thing to aim at. But if you're aiming for 90 and you're getting sort of a stop every time it reaches to forward, that becomes a check. And if I remember, I said a check is when the edges glide in between the turns rather than turn continuously. So when your 3 turns, your little M-shaped 3 turns, have an uneven gap between them. And we do sometimes find that on this one when it gets to forward, it kind of recenters. Sometimes people ask me about spotting during Twizzles. Spotting is when you look at a point. It's done quite commonly in like ballet and things, and on the floor dance. You look at a point, hold the point, and then your head flicks round and you come back. Most people do not spot on the ice. There are examples of people, some very good people that do, but what we tend to find is, particularly for the less experienced gazer, it encourages the chance of a check on your Twizzles. It can be done and it can look very nice when there are examples of it done beautifully and it can look really good, but you must be careful if you are spotting not to check your turns. And this particular feature with the leg out is one that quite easily checks, and probably it mirrors a ballet sort of pirouette, but we find that if we do spot, you have to be extra careful of that check, and it's already a little bit at risk of checking. So that's just a quick note on that. Next, there's a lot of B features. Next one is significant movement in the free leg, so changing the level of the free leg specifically, so it's going up and down. So this is like a little half squat, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, it can't be a little bit, you know, like a little doddery bounce. It's got to be clearly changed level. So you've got to think of your elevator, lift shaft, going up and down, the body staying strong. So you want to practice just some like half squats, one-legged knee bend type things. Okay, again, this is one where you have to watch that you don't check your turns, because if you remember in my previous video I mentioned that double 3 turns are essentially the same edges and the same turn as a Twizzle, apart from they are checked, and quite often people use the rise and fall to check their turns. You know, the way that you rise for your turn and bend and glide, that's quite characteristic of the 3 turn. So if you're managing to straighten and lower, straighten and bend the knee during your Twizzle, it mustn't be encouraging those glides between the turns. It has to remain continuous to remain a Twizzle and to get your cool. Next one, but this one is very rarely seen as well. There is an example, there's a very good team that do use it, which are Stepnover and Beacon, the Russian ice dancers, and this is teapot Twizzles, or what in like the gym they call a pistol squat, or it's like our sit position. right ear position. It kind of resembles a travel and sit spin, but it mustn't spin. So less likely to so much check these turns as actually spin them or pirouette them where they get stuck on the spot, which is also not allowed. You have half rotation to push in and get down to a sit position, hold your sit position for the twizzle, and then rise up. Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory. Push in, sit down, hold it, back up. It's possibly slightly easier in the ice. Have a play. It's one that we see very uncommonly done as the Twizzle sequence, the main Twizzle sequence, where Step No from Buchan did, and obviously they're like Olympic level, they did, but even they've stepped away from using it as the main feature. What they are using it for is their choreographic Twizzle sequence, where the rules are not so strict, but it looks fab and it's a lot of fun. So have a play, and you never know, it might not be that you use it for a Twizzle sequence to try to get your levels, but you might use it for something else in your program because it does look very cool. Other cool things you can do. C features. So this group is a bit different. This is pattern, and the pattern features, there are less of them, but they're mainly relevant to those of you at junior and senior level, advanced novice, junior and senior, where you can get level 3 or higher. Okay, so briefly to explain levels, the in your lower level competitions, most competitions are capped at level 1 up till basic novice is capped at level 1, so you only need one feature for level 1. For level 2 you need 2 features, for level 3 you need 3 features. Level 2 is intermediate novice, level 3 is advanced novice, level 4 is junior and senior, that you are the maximum that you can be awarded. So 2 features for level 2 taken from 1 or 2 groups, 3 features for level 3 taken from 3 or 2 groups, 2 or 3 groups, and for level 4, 4 features taken from 3 groups. Okay, which means you do need to then repeat one group, so pick 2 features from the same group. Pattern is one way that is quite easy to pick 2, but normally people repeat an A feature, like or not repeat, but pick 2 A features. Other Twizzle rules for getting your levels quickly. I'm going to come back to C features in a minute. Other Twizzle rules, you need to have demonstrate different entry edges. Okay. Well, actually, lower down than that, you need to, at quite a low level, you need to demonstrate different directions of rotation. So one going anti-clockwise, turning over the left shoulder, and one going clockwise, turning over the right shoulder. Okay, and initially that you can do, say, 2 forward insides, but very quickly you have to actually demonstrate different entry edges. So you might want to do like a forward inside and a back outside, which, like I mentioned in the previous video, once you get turning are the same. It's just the entry edge that's different. That would be a way of feeling slightly more familiar. When you get to using 3 Twizzles, which is the first of my C features, you need to have 3 different entry edges, but of course you will repeat one rotation direction on, so the 3rd Twizzle will repeat one of the previous 2, because the previous 2 still have to have separate directions. And the 3rd Twizzle only needs to have 3 rotations, not 4, even if you're going for level 4. All the rest is all the rest would need to be 4 rotations for your level 4. 3 rotations for level 3, 2 rotations for level 2, 2 rotations for level 1. Single rotation for base. So, yeah, 3rd Twizzle. So pretty self-explanatory. You finish your 2nd Twizzle, and then you get 1 step, and then you have to go into, you get a maximum of 1 step in between, and you have to step into your 3rd Twizzle. Next C feature is a change of edge. So the change of edge means that you do your first Twizzle, say a forward inside, you come out, you do 4.5 rotations or 2.5 rotations, whatever it might be. And then you're going to change edge, pull in, and do your second twizzle. If you do, or if you go for the change of edge option, staying on 1 foot option, it has to be done between twizzles 2 and 3 in free dances, which is what most of you will be looking at it for. And that's because in a free dance there has to be at least 2 steps in between your first and second twizzle, and obviously if you are not putting your foot down, okay, even if you're slalom or whatever, you're still not putting your feet down, you're not changing your weight, and that's what characterises a step, you cannot be awarded. You have not, if you're changing edge, you have not completed a step, so therefore you haven't met the requirement. So in free dance it's between twizzles 2 and 3. The good thing about that is you actually get 2 C features if you pull it off, because you also get the 3rd twizzle feature. In a rhythm dance for juniors and seniors, you can do it between twizzles 1 and 2, because the rhythm dance rule is different and they only require there is a maximum of 1 step in between, which means you can stay on the same foot. Typical one might be forward, forward inside to back outside change, or the other way around, or of course you could do forward outside to back inside, or the other way around too. Next pattern feature is a difficult entry, difficult or unexpected entry. So we could be looking at things like a jump. If you use a jump entry, okay, it needs to land on the foot, on the edge that you're going to start twizzling on. So a typical one here would be a 3 jump and land into a twizzle rotation. Okay, there must be an apex to your jump. The trajectory must rise and come down. So your head must visibly lift during the jump, as well as your feet come off the ground. So it is possible to kind of jump and lift your feet off the ground, but not actually lift up. That won't count. They have to see your body rise and you land into your turn. The other option is something unexpected. Well, the other way when they say unexpected is it can come out of nowhere. So you'd be busy with your choreography or doing whatever you're doing, maybe stick in a difficult step, and voila, you're into a twizzle. Play with it, see what you can come up with. It is quite tricky because you have to make it unexpected. And yeah, I think I've covered everything. If you have any comments or anything you want to know a bit more, put it in the comments and I'll see if I can help out in any way. Alright everyone, stay safe, well done.